After months of anticipation, we finally arrive at Rick's Institute, tired, nervous, and excited. Routine is important in school, and we enjoy the routine on non-rainy days of listening to the Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem in front of the school. Making lesson plans for our mornings was a bit tricky when we never knew if morning devotions would last 30 minutes or an hour. I liked hearing Dr. Minjay speak, but felt sorry for the kids who just couldn't sit still that long or stay awake. This is the hallway outside our room. It's quiet now, but it can be very loud, as most other classes give no thought to keeping their noise levels down as they walk down the hall. Katie and I quickly learned to prepare our class ahead of time when we took them out. Expectations set up before we took our class anywhere was very helpful. The teacher in our first grade class was fired just a few weeks before our arrival. Miss Geneva was the sub and was more than ready to hand the class over to us. I had hoped to learn some teaching techniques from her, but she was not in our class very often, although she was good to help us understand the kids' heavy dialects occasionally. This is our class. I thought I would never learn all their names. Katie was much quicker at learning them than I was. By the end of the first week, we both had them all pretty much down pat. This is the view of the trash outside my class window. I was a bit disturbed on the first day to watch the kids outside picking through it. I was later to learn that this area was also used as a bathroom. One problem we faced was tired kids who had no energy because they didn't get breakfast or lunch. I sure hope a nationwide lunch program gets started for these Liberian schools soon. The curriculum for the class covered a wide array of exercises but had no depth. Katie and I talked to Miss Geneva and decided to try to hit a few basics in math and then concentrate on reading and writing. Here I am learning how the kids get to school while teaching about graphing with this information. At this point we're doing a graph using the kids' bodies. Next I showed them how to make a bar graph. We did graphs for several days. We modeled it, plus circulated around the room to help them. Some of the kids still didn't understand it. I think the main problem was a language barrier. Katie and I realized that most of the class didn't have good number sense and were having difficulties with addition and subtraction. Originally I made paper manipulatives, but Katie came up with the idea of using beans and popsicle sticks. We tried to have them work in pairs, but sharing was difficult, so we finally made enough for everyone to use. The popsicle sticks had 10 beans to represent the number 10, and individual beans were ones. We could write problems on the board showing 10s and 1s place and have the students use manipulatives to explain their work. These kids were restless, so we tried hard to get them up and moving. Here we're playing a math game outside. We also had them up singing and acting out songs in between lessons. Reading was our number one focus in the class. We read to these kids at least 2 times a day, making sure that we showed pictures and read with expression. They loved rhyming books and also ones in which they could help out, like Tiki Tiki Timbo. Not only did we read to them, but we also had daily reading groups. We tried taking turns with the different groups, but quickly learned that the consistency of one teacher leading the group was better. Reader's Theater was our grand finale for the last week. We wrote scripts for Tiki Tiki Timbo and Sam and the Tigers. The students had 1 to 2 days to practice them, and they got to read their parts to the class. They always did much better with the performance than the practice, but they still could have used more time to work on it. The students really did enjoy this different method of reading. Writing goes hand in hand with reading, so Katie and I tried to have them write daily. One idea we had was a science journal. We had them write what they were learning about plants in this journal. One day we took them on a nature walk, and then when they came back they wrote about it in their journal. They even brought in plants with roots attached to draw. These kids hadn't done much writing on their own and were very reluctant to experiment with spelling. We did put some words on the board, and we tried to get them to try spelling by themselves as well. We found it helpful to circulate around the room to make sure they were staying on task and also to motivate them. As much as possible, we tried to let the kids share their writing. They really were excited to get up in front of the class and share what they had written. This is Katie's spelling lesson. She made it active by having the kids come up with letters to spell the word. We quickly realized with this exercise and many others the importance of discipline in the class. At first, several students with the same letter were running up and fighting over who could be the letter in the word. Calling on students with their hands raised worked much better. As with any class, we had all types of students. Some were there to learn, and others just wanted to play with their friends. They all had their strengths and weaknesses, and they all deserved our best every day. These kids were challenging, but fun to teach and easy to love. And it won't surprise you to know that a piece of our heart is still with them in Liberia, and always will be.